What is going on, apes? My name is Tyler. Welcome back to the channel. AMC continues to rally, and after hours up 0.5% as we do currently speak. Now after hours trading has just closed 13 minutes ago, but AMC did close at $51.85. So looking at a continued rally. But in this video, we have to talk about something way more sinister. Some breaking news that did just come out with Wells Fargo. But if you guys have already heard this information, let me provide some facts behind this that do suggest that the banking industry as a whole is in deep and dire despair. We are one step away from a financial meltdown, specifically due to the over leveraging that is going on in our markets. And as we do know, the hedge funds are severely over leveraged. Also, we do know that the banks are the ones lending to the hedge funds. So let's get straight into this video. Let's not waste any time or sugarcoat shit. Drop that like on the video, comment down below, let me know what you think about the situation, as well as consider subscribing to the channel if you want more AMC videos just like this one. And before we do get into it, if you guys have seen my other videos, you have seen me already give this a big fat shout out. And this is my ex. She went through a terrible car crash. They rolled the car multiple times. Still unclear of the details of that, but essentially, the person she was with, they passed away right on the scene. She had a brain bleed, so she is currently in ICU. She knows her name. She, knows where she's at. She don't know what happened. She knows her mom. She knows what year it is. So it's looking good in that aspect, but she's not going to be able to work for a very long time. She had brain surgery for about 4 hours. And I think the best thing about the apes is that we come together and help people in need. So if you guys do want to help somebody that is in dire need, she does have a son, and those obligations and responsibilities don't stop if you get injured. So if you guys want to be a part of it, really big thank you. I am very grateful. She is very grateful. Everybody would be very grateful. The goal is $1,500. I think the apes could do that in no time at all, but obviously no obligation. It is also a full tax write-off, but contact your tax professional for clarification on that. But let's not waste any more time. Let's get straight into this information, guys, and we are going to be going to Twitter. If you guys have seen this, we're just going to briefly run through what is being said about Wells Fargo and then get into the situation about the over leveraging the banks, and ultimately what is happening on October 1st is going to be a critical inflection moment for the overall markets, and we got to get into it, give you guys the most up-to-date information possible. So breaking news, Wells Fargo has halted all small business loans, and this is confirmed by my conversation with a friend who works for Wells Fargo Bank after he/she attempted to apply for a small business loan for a client. And this text does say, get this, I went to apply for a small business loan for a customer Thursday. Well, the option to apply was no longer in our system, so I called down support and they said we are not doing them. Wells Fargo failed to mention to its employees, we have placed small business loans on hold. He says, oh shit, then it's closer than we think. He said, yeah, but the company normally gives us a heads up. And then he does say, which makes me think it's even closer. We were told about personal lines of credit 6 months in advance, and they aren't saying anything to anyone. Yeah, no one in my company knew about it. We are all like, WTF. We just did business loans last month, but the link you posted, that goes into the Federal Reserve, and we will talk about that in 1 second. And essentially, if you guys do remember that they did shutter all personal lines of credit August 23rd. So Wells Fargo has already been preparing for this, getting a real jump on the gun with this market crash or correction situation that is likely to unfold, and loan defaults that are likely to happen. If you guys are unaware, Wells Fargo holds most of their loans on their balance sheet, so it is not a surprise they are doing this to try to de-risk themselves for this event, which ultimately could come down to October 1st and what is happening then. But it's honestly not a surprise that Wells Fargo is doing this. It may be a couple days before we do get this announcement. And if you guys are wondering if this guy is legit or not, a lot of people have shown a lot of support that, essentially he's been around from the beginning. I don't personally know him. I've never seen him before. I may have seen him before, but don't remember. So if you guys could clarify that, let me know. But a lot of people are behind this guy's side and are legitimizing what he is saying. But this right here, I do want to read this before we get into the situation. October 1st, which is massive, a massive shitty situation. It says, It's even more telling employees have been told and were at least given 6 months notice on personal lines of credit ending. Could this have to do with the 1 trillion capital requirements effective October 1st? And or are we closer than what we think to a market crash like 2008? I do tend to think we are closer to a market crash. I don't think it's going to be long lasted like what happened in 2008, going from 2008, really the end of 2007, all the way until 2012 before the markets did fully recover. I don't necessarily think that is happening, even though that would be good for the AMC short squeeze and force all of the shorts to cover on their short position. But what I do want to point out for you guys is this. I have went over this about a month ago on the channel, and this is very important. I think this is bigger than any new rule change that we could get from FINRA, the SEC, DTCC, or NSCC. And this is the Federal Reserve has published capital requirements for the largest banks it supervises that will kick in October 1st. Goldman Sachs will have to comply with the highest capital requirements out of all 34 banks subject to the Fed's stress test, with a common equity tier 1 requirement of 13.4%. This year's stress test examined 23 banks, with the remainder of the firms on an every other year test cycle. The capital requirements for those remaining firms will be based on last year's stress test. So this happens all the time, but this year in particular, look how much they are boosting the requirements. Take a look at this. The minimum requirement is 4.5% for any bank. They did boost the stress test buffer 6.4%. That is massive when you were talking about a company, or a bank, I should say, that is controlling hundreds of billions of dollars of assets. All in all, that is where he is getting this number of $1 trillion of capital having to be placed on reserves. But just take a look at this. Another 2.5% for the GSIB surcharge, and Morgan Stanley right up there, 5.7% capital requirement. HSBC 7.5, DWS USA 7.2, UBS 7.1, Credit Suisse 6.9, JP Morgan Chase at 3.2, and then a 3.5% GSIB surcharge. So this is telling you which banks essentially are more over leveraged than others. And so it is clear that there is a huge problem. But like I said, just 6.4%, 7.5%, those are very large numbers. Talking about hundreds of billions of dollars, $1 trillion going back into the markets to essentially sit in vaults to make sure that they would still be able to loan out to clients, that they're not going to see too many defaults where they would have to declare bankruptcy. Basically, the Fed is trying to prevent a total financial meltdown. And a lot of this is due because the hedge funds and institutions are severely over-leveraged, and that is really the biggest clients to these banks are the hedge funds and institutions. They're the ones that do the over-the-counter contracts, which we do know are subject to margin calls. That did start on September 1st. So all in all, a huge shit show situation that is happening in the overall markets with the bank. We also do know that S&P is at a critical reflection level or inflection level where we have started to curl down. Only time will tell if we do go into this correction now, but I do think it's very likely by the end of this month, really getting into, October 1st, you're going to see some level of correction, in my personal opinion, due to these banks having to sell some assets to put them back into their reserves, or force their clients, the hedgies, to sell some of their assets to bring that back to the bank. That is ultimately a great thing for AMC. That is the only thing that will force these large short positions to be forcefully liquidated and to be forced to cover. When the overall market goes down, they lose money on their overall portfolio, their long positions, whereas their margin maintenance levels go up at the same time. I know I've talked about that a ton on this channel. This probably sounds like a broken record, but I want as many people to hear that as possible. That is the only way people like Citadel will be forced to cover, because they have so much money. It doesn't matter if AMC were to 10x in value. If AMC was trading at $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, Citadel could just deposit more money into their short position if the markets never crash or go through a correction. If the markets are going through a correction and you see the smallest firms starting to cover first, then you're going to see the big guys be forced to cover at very high price points, and they will be forced to cover. They will have no choice. So that is all I do have for this video. That is what you guys need to know. This big situation on October 1st, the potential for the credit lines being shuttered for Wells Fargo, as well as just loans in general for Wells Fargo. It may be a couple days before we get official confirmation of that, but that will most certainly spook the markets, possibly causing the markets to go down a little bit more. So drop that like on the video, hit that comment section, let me know what you think about the situation, specifically what is happening on October 1st. I think this is bigger, like I said, bigger than any rule change that we have seen by far. 10x the significance from any rule change that we've seen so far. So let me know your opinion on that situation, as well as consider subscribing to the channel if you want more videos like this. Also, I love and appreciate every single one of you guys. If you guys do want to donate, like I said, that will be pinned in the top comment as well as in the description. Love and appreciate every single one of you guys. I hope you enjoy the rest of your night and you're ready for action with AMC stock tomorrow. So I will see you guys in the next video.